Hey, it's Jim Cerone, the perfect host. How was your week? Interesting times, huh? What's the future of the DJ industry? What's your future in the DJ industry? I created a perfect host concept a while back that really helped me solidify my business. It set a foundation for word of mouth and referrals because I was more than just the music. I began to think of myself as the host of every party I did. And I took action based on those things, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But it really helped me become more than music in people's eyes. Their perception of me became different. I think in the future, it's going to be really important for you to be more than just music. I think the definition of the word DJ is going to change. And if you don't change in the next 3 to 5 years, I think a lot of DJs are going to find it very difficult to continue. Why did this happen? When did this change? Well, it began to change with streaming services, and I don't think any of us could have predicted how rapidly Spotify especially has taken over our audience, the people who hire us. They're very familiar with Spotify. They love having every song in their pocket instantly, and that has changed the game for us as DJs, and I think it's really going to change it a lot more in the future. That's why I think you have to change why you do what you do, why you're at a party in the first place. So a lot of this has to do with you changing your mindset, changing kind of the focus of your business, what you believe your purpose is at an event. The perfect host was set on a foundation of 10 things, and I want to cover those very quickly with you today. The reason that you're at parties when I started was I thought to make people dance. DJs had the music. That used to be what made us different from other people. We had, or we were in the process of building, huge music collections. I started with vinyl, 45s and albums and 12 inches. And I became a DJ. People called me to come DJ their party because I had a lot of music. And so that was something that made us different. Then it was cassettes, then it was CDs. And then when iTunes came out, when you began to be able to buy music and download it, that was a differentiating factor. That was something, again, those of us that had huge music libraries either converted them over to digital in iTunes or whatever program you prefer, but we had a library to start with. And then streaming started. And streaming has completely changed the game. My clients now assume that I stream everything. When they find out that I own music, they're surprised. And that happened over the course of the last 3 to 5 years. It's just incredible how streaming, whether it's YouTube or Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Google Play, whatever, our clients are completely comfortable with that. They're also completely comfortable with putting a speaker there, what I call, can't you just put a speaker there? Their perception of how music is delivered and how music is played has changed. You might have had a huge stereo system, either in your car or at home. You might have been around when there were, components. You had an equalizer, you had a receiver, you had an amplifier, you had an FM tuner, you had a cassette deck, and then you had speakers. All of those were separate pieces. And now how do people listen to music? Through the speakers in their phone. So the concept of what quality loudspeakers are have changed. And because people are able to put a speaker anywhere using Google Home or Alexa, they believe that we as DJs can do the same thing. So there are a lot of things that have changed in our business, and to survive, we have to change too. The perfect host, the foundation of the top 10 things that I created that I think you should do at your parties, start with show prep. That's the foundation of any perfect host experience. You have to understand how your party is going to go. And so for your clients, that means you're providing planning expertise, and that's going to be important. We're going to cover that in a minute. I think that because you've done a lot of parties, you understand the rhythm of a party. You understand the importance of pacing at a party. You don't want parties to be rushed, but you don't want them to lag or be slow either. And you know all about that. You understand tempo and pacing, and all of that happens in the planning process. You have to help your clients figure out what are the things you want to do during your party, and how can we make that happen? How can we put them in an order that makes the most sense from a timing standpoint, from an emotional standpoint? And so show prep, that's what I learned in radio. That was a phrase for what you did before you ever came in the radio station, before you went in to do your 4 or 5 hour air shift. You planned out what you were going to do. And because you did the air shift every day, again, this is calling on my radio background, you knew what the flow of your show was going to be like. Maybe you had a contest every day at 5 o'clock. You knew you had traffic every 10 minutes. You knew there was news at the top and the bottom of the hour. You knew these things because you did the show every day. You know how parties go. You know how mitzvahs go. You know how weddings go. You know how corporate events are usually structured. So you can sit down with your clients in advance and help them do the show prep for their party because you have the experience. And of course, there are pieces that not everybody wants to do. Not everybody wants to do a bouquet or a garter toss. A lot of people think those are very old-fashioned. Some of my clients can't believe they were ever done in the first place. So as you sit down with your clients, talk them through their wedding, their mitzvah, their schedule of how they want the event to go, and then offer them your expertise. Here's one simple thing that can help you understand the importance of show prep. Let's say your clients have a 7-tier wedding cake. 7 tiers. Really, really big wedding cake. And that's the only wedding cake. That's what all the guests are going to eat. There's no sheet cake in the back. Well, if you wait until after dinner, or maybe after the toasts, to cut that cake, it's going to take the staff a long time to take that away, slice it, and serve it. So in a case where you have a really big wedding cake, you might suggest to your clients with your planning background and expertise that they cut the cake before dinner when they first walk in. That way the staff can take it in back and they can serve it and have it ready after dinner, so that you've helped them avoid a timing issue because you know how long it takes to cut cake. So by having them cut it in advance, now there's no delay. It can be served right after the entree and the evening can continue to flow. So show prep, helping your clients, assisting them with the planning process, is a very important attribute, a very important thing that you bring to the table. Then I was one of those people who used to be late all the time. And my business really improved when I began to get there much, much earlier. Also, I was a communication major at school, and I took for granted that I just understood how important communication was. Well, communication at a wedding, when there are often 13 to 15 vendors involved in the process, or for a mitzvah or a corporate event, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And if you are the person who's proactive, who initiates communication and shares timelines with everybody on the team, then you are perceived as a lot more than just a DJ. Suddenly, you're a host, you're a party planner. There's a lot of things that go with it. And you never want to step on someone's toes. I work with wedding planners a lot. I appreciate what they do, they appreciate what I do. And opening the lines of communication and being flexible and working with them is the key. So when I say party planning, what I really mean is from an entertainment standpoint. We look at a corporate event a different way than a corporate planner looks at the event. We look at a wedding a different way than a wedding planner looks at the event. We're concerned with the entertainment, with the flow, making sure the guests are involved and that everyone is having a great time. A wedding planner has a lot more things that they need to think about. How are the gifts getting from the event to the bride and groom's room? What time are people showing up for hair and makeup in the morning? How are the buses getting the guests from the... So there's a lot more that they do that we don't do. So communication also comes with understanding and empathy. And I used to think empathy was this namby-pamby word, but now I appreciate and understand what it means is putting yourself in someone else's shoes, whether that's the mitzvah parents who are very nervous and very worried about how their investment is going to come together, whether it's a bride and groom who have planned this event for 18 months, whether it's a corporate planner whose boss is watching and checking everything they do. If we can put ourselves in their shoes, that's a real help. And that begins with step number 2 of the perfect host, which is communication game day preparation. Being early at an event, initiating communication early in the process with everyone on the team, those are all very important parts. Getting to the venue very early is something that I didn't used to do, and now I understand the importance of it. You're probably at your best when you're calm and relaxed as an entertainer. You're not calm and relaxed if you arrive to a venue late, or you encounter a traffic problem, or you have a flat tire, or you discover that they have you set up in a different place than what you talked to them about. So when you're 3 hours early, which is the timing I like to arrive at a venue, that gives you plenty of time to deal with issues getting to the venue, deal with issues getting into the venue. We all know sometimes freight elevators don't work, or there's now extra security layers that you have to be cleared through. So giving yourself lots of extra time on game day is really important. Then, once you're set up, you have time to change and get into your outfit for the event, and you have time to relax, to go through the agenda another time, to talk to the people at the venue, to meet the banquet staff and the servers. You just have a lot of extra time to network. Often the florist is there when we're setting up. You have a chance to make a new friend, to build a new vendor relationship with the florist or the other vendors that are there setting up. So being early on game day is very important. A third tier of the Perfect Host Top 10 is what I call looking the part. And this is going to be different for every person, and style has certainly changed a lot. Everything has gotten a lot more casual. But if you do your show prep and you're early on game day, you've got a pretty good idea of what you should wear that day. Depending on the clients that you serve, they may have a different need for you. I had to dress in Western wear for a corporate event recently because the theme had kind of a cowboy theme to it. So there were bull riding, the mechanical bulls were there. They had somebody walking around doing rope tricks. All of the music was country themed, and so I couldn't wear a tux. I needed to be sure I wore what was appropriate for that event. Finding out that I should have been wearing cowboy attire at the event would be a really bad time. So show prep and game day, making sure you're there early, but looking the part. Think of who you serve. And this is a really good exercise for you to actually sit down and do. Who are the people that you serve? What kind of events do you regularly do? I do mostly weddings. Those happen in all different types of event in my home city of Indianapolis. There are some that are very modern and contemporary. There are some venues that are very elegant and old-fashioned, and there are some that are in between. You may do barn weddings as well. So what you wear, how you look the part of the DJ, host, master of ceremonies, wedding entertainment director, whatever you call yourself, I encourage you to think of yourself as the host. The host kind of sets the tone. They should be dressed the way that fits the theme of the event. So I really think it's important for you to know in advance. And then do what you're comfortable with. I'm very comfortable in a tuxedo. Some people joke that I sleep in a tuxedo. That's just something that really fits me. It fits the image. It fits the clients that I serve. And so for the most part, I wear a tuxedo. Who do you serve? Who are the events that you regularly do? What kind of events and where? What sort of venues? Because you might want to change your attire based on the venue, based on the input from your clients. So looking the part is a really important aspect of being a host. Personal grooming is very important. You should have fresh breath. You should not smell. All of those things go into looking the part and smelling the part. So you will always find me with mints. I always have mints nearby. Number 4 of the Perfect Host Top 10 is called the preamble. What is that? It's a name I invented for that time after the guests arrive, but before the actual hosts get there. Let me refer to that corporate event I did again recently with the cowboy wear. We knew that the doors to the ballroom were going to open at 5:30. That's when the event technically began. Registration for the event, however, and the bar were out in the foyer outside the ballroom. That began at 3 o'clock. But because many guests were staying in the hotel, and this was an 800-person event, they started showing up at about 2:30, wondering when and if the bar was open yet. So you have to be prepared for that. You have to do your show prep. You have to be early on game day, and you have to use that preamble. Now, even though the ballroom doors didn't open till 5:30, and my part was happening inside the ballroom, I didn't just stay in there. I went out during what I call the preamble, which is before the event actually started. And I began to just mingle and try to make eye contact with people, walking back and forth. I was listening for what people were talking about. I was listening for laughter. Were people in a good mood before this corporate event started? It's a great way for you to kind of get your finger on the pulse or take the temperature of the room and to see what an event's going to be like. Now, in a wedding, you have that time maybe between the ceremony and the reception where the guests aren't sure quite what to do. Maybe cocktail hour, the bar doesn't actually open until 6 o'clock, but the guests begin showing up about 5:15. Often at a wedding, the bride, the groom, and the parents have to finish pictures, and so they don't actually arrive during cocktail hour. So the guests are wandering around with nobody to answer their questions, nobody to help them. You can be that person, and I really think using that preamble to your advantage is a really important way for you to break the ice with the guests before you ever touch a microphone, before they ever see you in front of the crowd or on stage. They've seen you as a person, as a human being. If the venues you work in don't do this, I think it's important for you to greet guests at the door. Some venues where I work, they have a staff person who is literally a door person. They're there to open the door. So you don't want to get in their way. But being the person who knows the room layout, table 1 is over here, table 17 is here, the small numbers are on this side of the room, the high numbers are on this side of the room. Just being that friendly face is so helpful to the guests. And wearing a smile is also so important. As you welcome the guests, you want to talk to them one-to-one and offer assistance where you can. The bar will open at 6 o'clock. I consider myself part of the staff of whatever venue I'm working in. I think that's very important for you to do. Again, it's not us versus them. It's not me and the venue separate. We're all working together to give our clients, whether that's a wedding, a mitzvah, a corporate event, whatever type of events you do, we're working together to give them the best event possible. We can't do it without them. They can't do it without us. We're all in this together. So the preamble is a great time for you to make sure that the guests know your face. They understand that you're the person who has all the answers. And it's a great way to build trust with them. You're the one in charge of the event, really, from our standpoint as the host of the event. And I use the words in charge. We're the sober person driving the bus. That's the best way I've been able to describe it. We're not in charge necessarily. There's a venue manager, there's a director of catering, there's a wedding planner, there's a bride, there's the mother of the bride, there's a corporate CEO, there's obviously a lot of other people. but we are the entertainer. We are the person kind of making sure the event stays on track and goes at a comfortable pace. So when I use the words in charge, that's what I mean. We're watching and minding everything to be sure that the tempo goes at a nice pace. Number 5 is one of the most essential parts of the Perfect Host Top 10. It is learning to remember names. I call it you name it. If you use LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, there are so many ways that you can now kind of cheat and use those social media to learn people's faces and names. Learning and remembering names is such an important part of having any successful business. The most successful politicians, the most successful, the mayor in your area, the people who serve on the school board, the people who are successful in business, understand the importance of networking. And networking really starts with remembering people's names, finding out about them, knowing about other details of their life. And there's a really easy way to help with this. When someone introduces themselves to you, listen and care fully enough to remember their name. Not listen carefully. You have to listen, hear their name, and care fully enough to remember it and them. Now, that sounds very simple, and you know that listening is difficult. Remembering people's names is very challenging. It just takes concentration and focus. Here's what happens when we meet somebody, we want to tell them something we have in common. Oh, you're from Michigan? My brother works in Michigan. Oh, you're from... And our brain is really trying to be relatable and to establish some commonality, something in common with the person we've just met. You have to stop that, put it on pause for just a minute, and listen to their name. And our minds work really well if we let them. Just pause for a second, remember their name. Sometimes people will say the name 5 times over in their head. Sometimes they will say their name back to the person. You can use a mnemonic device, remember something about them. There's all kinds of ways that you can remember names, but you have to focus on it. You have to really concentrate every single time you meet someone. If you can do that, your business will succeed. It happens magically. Remember people's names that you're working with. Not just the banquet captains, but the servers, the bartenders. There are people in the Indianapolis area that I've known for years and years. It's incredible how you can make somebody feel special just by remembering their names. It's wonderful when somebody calls your name, isn't it? When somebody says your name, it's wonderful to be a regular at a restaurant or at the dry cleaner. It's wonderful when somebody remembers you. You can give that back to somebody else by making them feel special and important just by remembering their name. Now, we're running short on time, so we can't go through the whole Perfect Host Top 10. You can email me, message me. I'm happy to help you. I want to touch real quickly on the ways I think that we survive as DJs moving forward. Let me please mention Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is a financial guru. He has all kinds of content available for free on YouTube. He has a daily radio show that you can also listen for free. It streams. And he has something called the Total Money Makeover book. For you to survive, you have to know how to run a business. And even if it's just your family, you have to understand how to run your family business, how to run your budget. Dave Ramsey talks in really plain, very simple English, and he'll help you understand how to live with low debt or no debt, the difference between wanting something and needing something, and the way to have a plan to survive in the future. One of his most important things that he goes over again and again and again is having an emergency fund. How do you build an emergency fund? How do you manage money? It all happens in little. When you hear the word budget, you may think of this big mountainous thing. You may have bad connotations with that word, either from your family. We all think about money or feel about money in a different way based on our backgrounds. None of that matters if you can just understand simple concepts of how much money comes in, how much money goes out. And the real answer is, the real secret is, it goes in little tiny increments. If you spend a little bit each day, you have a lot less money at the end of the month. If you save a little bit of money each day, you have a lot more money at the end of the month. So please seek out Dave Ramsey and ask me if there's anything I can do to help you. But the secret to money is little things. Don't think of money as this big mountain that you can never climb. You can, and Dave Ramsey will help you break it down. Then the future of DJing. I think it depends on 3 P's. Planning, which is something you know how to do. Production, the equipment is still something that our clients don't have, whether that's speakers, whether that's lighting, whether that's trussing, whether that's a photo booth, production elements, any production elements you offer, monograms, etc. Our clients don't know how to do that, and they don't want to learn. They don't have the equipment, they don't have a place to store the equipment, but they do want production value. I think that's more important because of Pinterest and Instagram. Brides see other brides' weddings and say, I want something like that. So planning, production, and what's the last P before we wrap up? Your personality. You as an individual are completely unique. Your master of ceremony skills, your DJ ability, and your ability to host parties is something that can't be duplicated. So the future of DJing doesn't necessarily rest on music, it rests on those 3 Ps. And I hope that that helps. I'm Jim Cerone, the Perfect Host. I'll look forward to seeing you soon.